How are you all? Well, basically, when Jane said to me and called me to ask me if I wanted to do this, she said, we're going to have a reveal party. And I said, well, I actually know what that is, surprisingly enough. About a month ago, I read this article in some of Girly magazine, which I love to read, and it explained how women have come full circle in the whole area of cosmetic medicine, cosmetic surgery. And now women who have everything from Botox to anything else done have decided to actually have reveal parties to show off the fact of how they look. And tonight, this was the idea that they had here, and this is the vote to reveal this new clinic, and I think it's a great idea. But the whole area of cosmetic medicine, which is really what this clinic does, is non-invasive medicine, and Patrick, of course, is meant to explain all that to you in a few minutes' time. But I guess from a woman's perspective, everybody wants to look good. Middle age is moved 10 years, I've heard recently, thank the Lord. And I'm very happy to hear that. It's now being set probably late 50s. And I think programs like Sex and the City have done a lot for women in their 30s and upwards to actually have women looking really sexy into their 50s and longer, and why not? I mean, all you have to do is look at women like Catherine Deneuve and know that, you know what, she could equal someone in her 20s. And I really believe that. So the reality is that you can look as good as you want these days. And there's nothing wrong with having, you know, the odd little complimentary thing to make you look that way. And I think that's a fantastic way that the world is going these days. And revealing it is probably something that will take us a little bit longer in this country, I think. I can't imagine us having reveal parties as much as maybe America yet. Now, a very important thing is, I believe, is that if you're going to have something, obviously, it's very important to go to somebody that you trust. And there are so many places open these days. Every time you open any magazine, Health or Image or Social Person or anything else in this country, you see various people advertising. And I think that, you know, it's important to go to someone reputable if anybody wants to get anything done. So someone like Patrick, who's been working in this area for decades now at this stage, is someone to actually trust. And I think it's great to have a clinic like this outside Dublin that people don't have to traipse up and down. And I think it's wonderful to look around tonight and also see men here in the room. Because it's not just women who are interested. It's from the basic thing that if you look back in this country 10, 15 years ago, going for a facial was a big treat. Now women are taking more care of themselves, everything from creams upwards. And I think that it's a great thing to see that we're proud of ourselves and getting up with the rest of Europe, really. I mean, all you have to do is go to France and, you know, women are in the sexiest clothes into their 60s, and what is wrong with it? So anyway, the man who's going to tell you all about this, not moi, obviously, Mr. Patrick Tracy. Here he is.
Thank you, Maura. Don't be running away.
Slip down here for a second.
I was down in South Africa a couple of months ago. Actually, on Christmas Day, I was on Robben Island, where, you know, Nelson Mandela and Walter Sisulu, many people were held for many years of their life. And the day I went out on Christmas Day, it was unfortunately one of those days that there was a lot of tourists around, and I just couldn't get my right photograph. Every time I went to Mandela's cell, there was 40 people around the cell as well. And even if I waited at the end, somebody sort of pulled me away. And I was chatting this other prisoner. She was from the Hostel tribe. She'd been incarcerated with Nelson Mandela for 18 years of her life. And I was telling her of the years that I originally was registered in South Africa back in the 1980s, but refused to work there for my own reasons, and didn't work there until Nelson Mandela was released. And I had been telling her this. And when I was coming back from the island, I felt very sad that I had no photographs that sort of represented the whole spirit of the island. And so I decided to go back again. We were down shark diving in Hermanus, and I decided I'll go back. They wouldn't let me onto the island, and I told them who I was, but every time they looked up the internet, it was that I'd said something against Thabo Mbeki or something against South Africa. So they said, we're certainly not sending that guy out.
You're certainly revealing that tonight.
So anyway, in the end, they let me out on the last sort of boat. And I was the only token white on the boat. It's a funny thing. It must have been like the Mandela football club that Winnie had, but everybody was sort of watching me on the way out. And as we sort of approached the island and we hit the lime quarry where, you know, Nelson Mandela had lost his eyesight and everything, everybody was looking at me as if it was me that had done it, you know. And then when we reached the compound where Joe Sisibu had been held for a lot of his life, and they showed where the prison dogs got 3 by 3 meters, but the prisoners only got 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters, they were all looking at me again as if, you know, you guys did this to our people, you know. And when we eventually reached Mandela's cell, and it showed where he was sort of cramped up in a very sort of small space for 18 years of his life, the pressure was really on, you know, and they were looking at me in such a way that if I even answered a question, they thought it was my father or something that sort of, you know, had incarcerated these people many years ago. And we were walking by a toilet at the time, and there was a little sign in the toilet, and it said, out of order, and somebody had written underneath it, yes, they were big time, you know. But as we sort of sat in the room, and I was the only one maybe of about 40 black people that was sitting there, and everybody was looking at me, and lucky enough we had exactly the same person showing us around the prison as we had 4 days before that. This lady that sort of, you know, had been a former member of the Communist Party and had been incarcerated for a long time. So as she ran through all the different sort of problems that had happened to them down through the years and the brutality and that they had suffered, everybody was looking at me and even edging up further and further away from me, you know. And then she happened to get up and she turned around and she said, you know, people like Nelson Mandela at the end of the day didn't really do anything to get out of prison. They were the prisoners in here. And she says, it was people like Patrick Tracy here, because you remember 4 days ago, they were the real heroes because they were the ones who protested to get him out. And it was wonderful. For the first time, it just turned everything around because these people got up and started shaking my hand. And in a way, I feel like that tonight. The real heroes of the opening of Cork are in the audience. It's not really me at all. It's people like Jane Hildred here, Sean, my brother, who built the clinic, Jane beside him, who designed it, all the staff that are around us, and a big sort of hand for them, you know.